Ladies and gentlemen,
they want war. Crying babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every clue. Don't let it go, it's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep. Leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and I feel we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die, you voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers. Cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather, I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in the way to settle. If you stop the machines for a minute you might hear, but they won't cause the TVs whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't hear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't steer. And like an ab, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguise is religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war.
All right, y'all, here we go. Yeah, it's a sad day in the USA. I mean, you know, I think Americans are used to, in some way, this dynamic. Like, let's be honest, we got used to the Jan 6 riots. I mean, who else has stormed the Capitol when they didn't like the election outcome and killed some police officers and then make believe that it was all a hoax and pretend that, oh, you know, Biden must have sent some FBI agents out there and it was them who did it, even though Trump was the president. I mean, when is the looniness just going to stop in the make believe of the right? Just look at all the red states and look at the gun rights. I mean, they have the rights. And they have had this right, and other Americans have stood by this right. We all have the right to bear arms against tyranny, which is supposed to be power, power structure oppressing people, not regular citizens, not, I'm sorry, but Hakeem Jefferies is not the power structure. Maga Mike Johnson is not the power structure, although they're civil servants. This is not the force. They're not forcing. Hakeem Jefferies isn't taking your Medicaid, taking your Medicare. He's not taking your gun rights away from you. No, 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 no. The Democrats have never taken people's gun rights away from them. All they've ever asked is for reform, common sense reform. Do you want a mental patient getting access to a weapon? Do you want the rules to be like Charlie Kirk wants them or not? Charlie Kirk got shot by somebody from the Midwest who was raised to use weapons that kill people. I mean, do you want that kind of America or not? That's not, something that you could blame Democrats for. Democrats believe in the right to bear arms also, just not in the same way. Just not in the same way. Why? Because we live in different types of communities where we have enough police, and we prefer police to solve our problems and lawyers, not necessarily vengeance and go out and grab my gun and kill somebody. No, we don't live in a place where the closest neighbor is 15 minutes away by car. So we don't necessarily need guns for the same exact reasons like people that live in rural states and rural America. But having said that, this make believe about political violence. When did Democrats storm the White House? Storm the White House, storm the Capitol building. When is this going on? What Democrat president has pardoned people that kill police officers? When did that happen? I mean, you had the most you could say, and this is not even a Democrat thing. This was in the '60s. I guess you had Asada Shakur. This is not a Democrat thing. This is just, a Black Panther thing, a Black Guerrilla Army thing, freedom against oppression in the '60s that was ongoing, police and state violence against African Americans. Well, she was charged with killing a police officer. She escaped jail and fled to Cuba. That's it. But Jan 6, everyone saw it on tape. You don't have to believe what someone else says. You could watch it for yourself. And if you play it on YouTube, they will flag your video and say it's violent, because it was violent. Why? Because police officers really did get killed, because people really did threaten Nancy Pelosi with terroristic threats to kill her, because even the vice president, Mike Pence, had terroristic threats issued against him to kill him, to hang him publicly. I mean, come on. This shit harkens back to, the day. I mean, when you have a hangman rope out in front of the Capitol saying, where's Mike Pence? If he doesn't overturn the election, we're going to hang you. This shit is bizarre. But once again, it's not a surprise. This is why I always say this to right wingers. What you going to do about it? Kill some liberals? Is that your answer? This is what I always say, because I grew up in the United States of America. I mean, in the capital, Washington, D.C., right? And I listened to, this right wing stuff all my life. I never had to worry about it because D.C. is a Democratic stronghold. So I never had to worry about these kind of thinkers. That's more in Virginia when I was growing up. And, I'm a 70s kid. So that's more like Virginia. That's more like maybe deeper parts of Maryland, things like that. But in Washington, D.C., we don't know that kind of shit in my generation. We don't know that type of fear. We're like, if you're crazy enough to come here, then something is wrong with you, obviously. You know what I'm saying? But we don't meddle in other town shit. We don't go and try to tell people in West Virginia, don't have your gun, don't protect your land, don't protect your horse, don't protect your cattle. We don't do that. We're not going to take a little walk on the water. We have different lifestyles, and that's okay. We don't want to kill you because you don't want Medicare. We don't want to kill you because you like Elon Musk. No. We want to vote your ass out. And so there's a big difference here. But when you listen to when you listen to some of the excuses, and I'm sorry, the only thing I can do is laugh right now because the emotions are flowing. Actually, to be honest with you, it's really, really pathetic. Hakeem Jefferies is going down as a martyr. I mean, whether he's killed by some right winger who threatens his life or not, he's going down as a hero to America, just like Martin Luther King did. He's not swayed, he's not worried, he's not bothered. Now, it's interesting because all these same players are around all the events. Look, you got Maga Mike Johnson, you got Hakeem Jefferies, right? You got Trump. Then you have the duly elected congressional woman. What's her name again? Damn, how can I forget it? Grijalda, right, out of Arizona. She's been waiting for a month now to be sworn in by Maga Mike Johnson, right? Same guy who doesn't want her sworn in because of the Epstein files, right? Because Trump is all in the Epstein files and the other cohorts that have been blackmailed, very likely, and have people tinkering with them politically, internationally and nationally, during dealing with policy inside of the U.S. And this is what's at stake. It's all culminating into one big nutcase. You know what I'm saying? But here, let's just take a listen.
On the Senate floor, among the small group of rioters who seized control of the Senate gallery, was rifling through desks, was up on the Senate dais during the U.S. Capitol siege. He was found guilty in 2022, was sentenced to 21 months in prison. He was among the 1,500 plus January 6 rioters and riot defendants to be pardoned and freed from their convictions by President Trump. CBS News has learned local authorities in New York State arrested Christopher Moynihan again Sunday. According to the charging document obtained by CBS News from New York's state police and the local prosecutor upstate, Christopher Moynihan texted threats, terroristic threats, they say, against Hakeem Jefferies, the House Democratic leader, texting, quote, "Even if I am hated, he must be eliminated. I will kill him."
Okay, so who in the chat agrees with the person who issued the terroristic threats towards Jefferies? Put a 1 in the chat if you agree with terroristic threats towards Hakeem Jefferies. Go ahead, let me watch. Let me see. Who agrees with that? If you don't agree, put a 2 in the chat. I don't agree with terroristic threats towards stupid, down low Maga Mike Johnson, because we can make fun at him and prove how stupid he is every day of the week. Why kill him? Why sacrifice my life for his pathetic life? I mean, he's the one who needs taxpayer dollars to pay his rent. I don't, But so go ahead, put a 1 in the chat if you think you're one of those people that agree with that disgusting terroristic threat that was issued towards Hakeem Jefferies. Go ahead. Go ahead. You have your space and your freedom to have your opinion. Let me see who's out there. There you go. So let's see here. Boom. So Nico's out of there. Anybody else? You can support it. Look, who cares? They're just actors. No, do you care about terroristic threats towards you, carnivore? You know what I'm saying? Do you care about terroristic threats to your daughter, your mother, your family? Get out of here, man. Let me get carnivore out of here, too. This is just stupidity. It's only 5 minutes. You can bear it. Let's be real. You can't solve anything if you're not being real. Just be real. Who agrees with terroristic threats being issued towards Hakeem Jefferies? It's just very simple. You don't have to sink so low, You don't have to sink so low. You can be a Trump supporter and not agree with that. You don't have to be totally brainwashed. Let's play some more.
Him for the future about Jefferies. Allegedly, Moynihan not only texted that, but knew that Jefferies was to appear yesterday at an event at the Economic Club of New York and noted that date and that event in the text thread. Tony, Moynihan.
Somebody said they're MAGA. I don't support this here. I hope not, Alan. I hope not, because listen, I'm just telling you, you can't win this that way. You can't win any respect this way. Secondly, make no mistake about it. Hakeem Jefferies wipes the floor with Maga Mike Johnson every day of the week. And I'm just talking about ability here, capability, knowledge. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that because I'm a Democrat. There's a lot of Republicans that are like, when is Maga Mike Johnson finished? When is he out of here? The man looks pathetic defending pedophiles. Like seriously, that's not Hakeem Jefferies trying to stop the 218 signatures so there can be a vote on the floor about the Epstein files. That's MAGA Mike Johnson. You see what I mean? And I would hope any right-wing American understand the difference. Like, yes, there are pedophiles. Yes, those pedophiles are in powerful places. Yes, they are being extorted. And you also cannot have a free country if you are not willing to work with Democrats and get to the bottom of this. And yes, you should also have health care. I should also have health care since my family comes from the beginning of the colonial period of the United States of America and has fought in every war, no matter what party you're with, independent or not. There's basic things, education and fucking access to higher education, technical school, tech training, these kind of things we should all agree on. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to go and destroy somebody's life in some rural part of America. I could give a fucking less. I love where I'm from. Don't come to where I'm from and fuck it up for us. But we don't have to go so low to where we stand behind terroristic threats. Come on, man. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Moynihan is not yet entered President Trump. CBS News has learned local authorities in New York State arrested Christopher Moynihan again Sunday. According to the charging document obtained by CBS News from New York's state police and the local prosecutor upstate, Christopher Moynihan texted threats, terroristic threats, they say, against Hakeem Jefferies, the House Democratic leader, texting, quote, "Even if I am hated, he must be eliminated. I will kill him for the future," about Jefferies. Allegedly, Moynihan not only texted that, but knew that Jefferies was to appear yesterday at an event at the Economic Club of New York and noted that date and that event in the text thread. Tony, Moynihan has not yet entered a plea. His first court appearance is set for Thursday in Dutchess County.
Now, on the floor, you know, it's a lot of heated debate, but right now what's going on with the shutdown is that every single American, no matter what state you come from, no matter what political party you are in, if this big beautiful bill goes ahead and the government is funded without any changes, all of you in the chat, MAGA or not, will be paying between 20% and 60% more for your health care. Do you want someone to stop it or not? Because MAGA Mike Johnson ain't stopping it. That's not Hakeem Jefferies that's not stopping it. That's MAGA Mike Johnson, who wants your mother, your grandmother, your granddaddy, your daddy, your kids, your daughters, your nieces, your aunts, your uncles to pay 20 to 60% more in healthcare so they can die on the street. You just be mindful of that's the representation we're talking about when we're talking about MAGA Mike Johnson. OK, that's the representation we're talking about when we're talking about Hakeem Jefferies and what he's against. He's against your mother, your father, your sister, your grandparents, your kids paying 20 to 60% more for your health care, regardless of what political party you are with. He is against that. MAGA Mike Johnson is for it, regardless of your color, regardless of your sexual orientation, regardless of your, whatever, handicap, non-handicap. He's no matter of what it is about you, male, female, MAGA Johnson is okay with you in the chat paying 20 to 60% more for your health care and your family and everyone you're related to and everyone in your town. So you pick your poison.
Well, that's not clear, and that is for people to judge the credibility of that response. At the end of the day, here in America, we're living in a moment of extreme political violence, and that impacts every single person in public service and the people that we are all working hard to represent. But we will not be intimidated. We will continue to show up and stand up and speak up for the American people, to improve their quality of life, to address the extremism that is being unleashed on everyday Americans by this administration all across the country. We will not bend. We will not break. We will never bow down.
Listen, this guy right here is a good civil servant, regardless of his color, regardless of his gender, regardless of anything. You have to be able to look past color. You have to be able to look past gender. You have to be able to look past sexual orientation, all of this shit. You have to be able to look past that and look at a person's character. Listen to how they respond to terroristic death threats made against them. Just because you want everybody to have access to health care, regardless if they agree with you or not, you still want people to have access to higher education and health care, regardless if they like your color or not, regardless if they like your heritage or your ancestry or not, regardless of whether you like somebody's Latino heritage, African American heritage, or Black American heritage, whatever your heritage is, Asian heritage, English heritage, Irish heritage, Italian heritage, Belgian heritage, German heritage, Swedish, Scandinavian, whatever it is, South American, Native American, regardless of all of that, he still wants you to have access to fair and affordable health care, not just for you, but for your mother, your daddy, your sister, your brother, your kids, your grandma, your granddaddy, all of them. Instead of having to lose your home, instead of having to make a choice, do I want to stay in my home or do I want to give it up for this operation? Like, that is literally the choice American people are being made to take, to choose between Maga Mike Johnson. You can make that choice between your house or operation, or Hakeem Jefferies. Stay in your house and get that operation.
And when it comes to these extremists out there, you better watch how you talk when you talk about me. Next question.
I think he's sitting on the side.
Thanks. Go ahead.
What do you make of it? A person accused of threatening you is the recipient of one of those pardons.
I think the reckless and irresponsible pardons of hundreds of violent felons on January 6th has consequences, as eloquently articulated by Representative Jamie Raskin. There are consequences.
Exactly, Nico.
Beyond me. Beyond me. The consequences are, we've seen crimes committed by people who Donald Trump pardoned on the first day he was sworn into office, by folks who have been released back into society all across the country. Some of them violent crimes. And so there are consequences to these irresponsible actions, and not a single House Republican has walked away from them, not a single one. There are consequences when these extremists who are part of the Trump administration label the entirety of the Democratic Party as terrorists or criminals. There are consequences to that beyond us. We all know what we've signed up for, but there's pain being visited upon the American people because of actions taken by Donald Trump, supported by House Republicans and Senate Republicans on day one of his presidency. And I'm going to yield to my two colleagues, but by the way, what Donald Trump promised to do on day one of his presidency was lower cost.
Okay, so listen, again, I'm just going to ask a few people. Juju B, do you agree that Hakeem Jefferies should have terroristic threats issued against him? Gamer Toad, do you agree that Hakeem Jefferies should have terroristic threats issued towards him? Fun Stuff, do you agree that Hakeem Jefferies should have terroristic threats issued towards him? Let's ask. Kevin Love, do you agree that Hakeem Jefferies should have terroristic threats made towards him? Just let me know your thoughts. I'm waiting to see. Space 2025. Yeah, exactly. What the hell is he talking about, Antifa? Goddamn, Trump was in office and shit. First, he said there's FBI agents in the crowd and shit, even though he's the president. I mean, come on. This is just bullshit brainwash for people. Look. So, Robin, do you agree that Hakeem, yes or no? Put a 1 in the chat if you agree. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't. Do you agree that Hakeem Jefferies should have terroristic threats made towards his life? Yes, Put a 1 in the chat. No, put a 2 in the chat for no. Okay, so somebody said yes, so let's get them out of the chat for a minute. No problem. I can get your comments out of the chat. If you don't mind. Yeah, let's get some real people that really think about questions up in here. Let's see here. Ali, I said, where's the proof of? Okay, well, let me just you just keep watching. This dude's like, where's the proof? Look, man, you can't drag a horse to water. You know what I'm saying? Look, okay, so let's look at this. So let's say it again. Irene Valkyrie, whatever the hell that phony ass name is, they believe in terroristic threats towards people. Stacy believes in terroristic threats towards people. Okay, who else? Let's see here. Let's keep it going because we got time. Let's just start it off getting lame asses out of here because you are the lowest of the low. Like, you're not even being real, because soon as somebody show up at your door in your family's house, you're going to be crying to the goddamn police. Okay. If you hate anti-fascists, anyway, let's go ahead. Okay. Franny Oaks being phony. She can't even defend herself against a terroristic threat. So let's get her ass out of here. She be calling the police too, talking about Antifa. Let's get it out of here. Okay. Can I get that down? Where's Franny? Let's go. Some more. I mean, it's good that I actually start off with this. This is a serious topic, and people that are out here talking about it's okay to issue terroristic threats to Hakeem Jefferies just because. Okay, Regina, let's get her out of there too. You can listen from now on. Thank you for not participating in the chat. Okay, I'm just letting it be known. I don't have any patience for that. I do believe in gun rights to the fullest. I don't believe in this kind of bullshit. You can't have it both ways. Like, what is this? Again, we liberals, Democrats, and intelligent people living in a Western democracy don't need to issue terroristic threats to get their political way. Only monkeys have to do that. Only dumbasses, sore losers, people that don't understand the benefits of a democracy have to resort to those things. So maybe you should be kicked out of the democracy if you have to resort to those kind of things. That's shit Al-Qaeda does. Okay. And like Dave Chappelle said, he even said he's not afraid of Al-Qaeda. He's afraid of Al-Cracker. No, that was Chris Rock who said that. And there's some truth to it, because a lot of these right wingers in the United States, they believe in a lot of the same things Al-Qaeda believes in, like straight up. So here we go. Let's play some more.
For everyday American. That was the promise. He lied to the American people all of last year. Did he ever say I was going to pardon hundreds of violent felons who brutally beat police officers at this Capitol on January 6th? Did he ever say that? Was that the promise that Donald Trump and the Republicans made to the country? No. They failed to lower costs, have done nothing. Life is more expensive for everyday Americans. Electricity costs up. Grocery costs up. Housing costs up. Now they want to jack up healthcare premiums on working class Americans. But they have time to pardon hundreds of violent felons, release them back into society, threatening the public safety of everyday Americans, and then can't spend a moment trying to make life more affordable, make healthcare more affordable for the American people.
Yeah, and this is the crazy thing. This is Raskin now responding. These are their responses to this. They've just been asked this, right? And about the terroristic threats. Now, this is the thing. Terrorism should be put down, period. People, how can you go from fighting Al-Qaeda to being Al-Qaeda? How can you go from being afraid of Muslim extremists that want to blow your ass up and shoot you, which the United States of America actually really did have to deal with? I know, I've seen it. It's happened before. You see, and, for whatever reasons you want to say, the shit is real and it's happened before. How do you go from that in the 2000s to all of a sudden wanting to be like that. You know, what is it you could defend? You can't defend the United States against Al Qaeda if you behave this way yourself. See, that's the poison pill. When you behave like that, which you claim not to want to be, which you claim is wrong, which you claim you're against, you're not defeating it, you're becoming it. You know, and this is if you can't just say that was wrong, something is fucking wrong with you. If you cannot say that these terroristic threats are wrong, something is wrong with you. You don't deserve to live in the United States of America. You don't deserve anything, any community, because you will be a person that will go around shooting people that are Americans, like flat out. It should be easy to say, I don't agree with his policy, but I agree he should not have to put up with terroristic threats. Very simple. I don't agree with his policy, but I don't agree with the terroristic threats either. That's easy to say. That's easy to say. But because I don't agree with it myself, and I'll tell you why. Look at the guy who killed Charlie Kirk. He's 22 years old. Charlie Kirk is in his 30s. The young man who killed Charlie Kirk was brought up shooting guns, shooting assault weapons designed to kill people. Right? He grew up in a state where that is legalized. Right? That's not a blue state. That's a red state. You see, gun rights laws are different, and people are brought up to believe that they're different and believe that, you know, there's different ways to deal with gun rights. Right. In the red states, they believe you should be able to teach your kids to hold and shoot weapons that are designed to kill people in war. In blue states, people don't believe that shit. Blue states meaning the union. You know what I'm saying? People that are anti-slavery, free people that are pro-freedoms. Right now, it's just crazy because the 22-year-old man that shot Charlie Kirk, right? In my view, he gave up his life for a shithead. Why would you give up your life, your whole future, your freedom for a douchebag like Charlie Kirk that's just an opportunist, that just has learned if you say hateful things, somebody will reward you. Some political party will reward you for saying hateful things. That's Charlie Kirk. I would never give up my life for that douchebag. You know, he wasn't a brilliant debater. He didn't know jack shit about anything. You know what I'm saying? It's all a fraud. You see what I mean? So I myself would never advise anyone to give up your freedom to kill anybody for political reasons. Now, here on the flip side, there's people that are loads of people that's willing to give up their freedom to kill people they don't agree with, kill with people they think have weaker arguments, kill people they think are wrong, kill people that they think, what? Why would you do that? How do you prove Hakeem Jefferies is anti-democratic when he's following the law and asking everyone else to follow the law? I mean, to me, it's just really sad and really pathetic. But again, let's hear some more.
The pardon process was governed by Department of Justice rules.
I mean, yes, Trump gave a pardon to this guy. This makes it even more ridiculous. Trump pardons the dude for Jan 6, and the guy goes out and makes terroristic threats. How many Jan 6 rioters were pardoned that went out to commit more crimes? How many of them were criminals, felons, even before they were a part of Jan 6? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Rules by statute and, of course, by the Constitution. And there was a very set pattern, which is each pardon application was considered on its own. It was analyzed what exactly that person had done, what they were convicted of. And up until Donald Trump, nobody had ever been pardoned who had not paid back in restitution their victims of a crime or paid back fines to the government. In other words, you had to make yourself completely whole, then you had to demonstrate that you were rehabilitated, that you accepted the reality of your offense. Now, contrast that with what happened with Trump. He gets in on his first day in office without any reports from the pardon attorney about any of these people, any recommendations saying that they have paid off their restitution, they've paid their fines, they've made peace with their victims and so on, they've apologized to the police. No, none of that had happened. Instead, they issued a blanket pardon for everybody who had stormed the Capitol and participated in the shocking and atrocious events of January 6th. So what do you have in that mix? You have people who have been convicted before for domestic violence, for assault, for armed robbery, you name it, drug dealing, gun dealing, all of that's in there. And what do you know? After this mass pardon happens, people start getting picked up again. There's a guy down in Richmond who was burglarizing all of the houses in his neighborhood. And now this guy, Moynihan, says he's going to eliminate the minority leader of the United States House of Representatives. So they have enough people over at the Department of Justice who know a lot about January 6th, including Ed Martin, who was there tweeting on that day, describing it as a day of celebration like Mardi Gras, and his senior advisor, Jared Wise, who was here yelling, "Kill him," about the police, that they should know how to get these people into line, because it's a very dangerous situation. And I just want to add finally to what Mr. Jefferies said. Speaker Johnson described the exercise of First Amendment rights across the country by 6 or 7 million Americans as part of the No Kings rallies as a Hate America rally. The Hate America rally happened on January 6th, 2021. We saw what a Hate America rally looks like. There were more than 140 police officers who were wounded, injured, hospitalized. Many of them have been forced out of police work because of what happened on that day. And what does Speaker Johnson say about that? Nothing. Now, he's part of the cover-up. He's part of trying to sweep the whole thing under the rug. Meantime, you had 7 million people participating peacefully, non-violently, in the American political process yesterday. And everybody should be praised for that. Those protests were a model for First Amendment exercise in the United States.
Right. So now here's MAGA Mike Johnson.
No, terrible. That's the first I've heard of that. I don't know anything about it. But anybody who threatens to kill any political official, we denounce it absolutely. They ought to have justice fall upon their head. All right? How about that?
Okay, so
Yes, sir. Second row right here.
that's interesting. So MAGA Mike Johnson denounces it. He denounces the terroristic threats made towards Hakeem Jefferies. Now, you in the chat, do you denounce the terroristic threats made towards Hakeem Jefferies? Do you agree with MAGA Mike Johnson right there? Even if you disagree with Hakeem Jefferies' policies, do you agree with that statement? Let me play it again. If you agree, put a 1 in the chat. If you disagree, put a 2 in the chat and let me know your political party.
No, terrible. That's the first I've heard of that. I don't know anything about it. But anybody who threatens to kill any political official, we denounce it absolutely. They ought to have justice fall upon their head.
Yeah, and he says they ought to have justice fall upon their head. Okay, so if you agree, damn, what did I say? I'm forgetting. If you agree with MAGA Mike Johnson, put a 1 in the chat. If you disagree, put a 2 in the chat. Let me know your political party too. Let me play that over with this statement only.
No, terrible. That's the first I've heard of that. I don't know anything about it. But anybody who threatens to kill any political official, we denounce it absolutely. They ought to have justice fall upon their head. All right? How about that?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
because I want to see how many Republicans now, you saw all these people in the chat, you know, they're acting like they don't give a damn about it. So do you agree with MAGA Mike Johnson? Because MAGA Mike Johnson doesn't agree with you. See, MAGA Mike Johnson right there said he doesn't agree with anyone making any terroristic threat towards anybody, period. And he wishes the full weight of justice falls on their head. Do you agree? Look, Tom Merrow doesn't agree. Look at this shit. Okay, Tom, you don't agree? I don't understand why you don't agree, because boop, to me, you should agree with that no matter who you are. I don't agree with MAGA Mike Johnson's policies. I think he's trying to kill poor white Americans, like, you know, by depriving them of health care, even though they don't realize it. By finger pointing and distracting them about illegal immigrants, they've been able to hoard up some money and get them to go along with voting for their own motherfucking suffering. Higher prices, paying more for healthcare also across the board, inflation, and they hold that little illegal immigrant shit up in the face as a trope to get them to keep coming along like a little carrot, because they know that's what a lot of them go for. But although I disagree with him, with his policy, I totally disagree with the idea that you have to make terroristic threats towards him to get what you want. You see, so on that note, I agree with MAGA Mike Johnson. And it's so ironic how anyone could disagree with that statement, no matter who you are, Republican or Democrat. Let's play it one more time.
No, terrible. That's the first I've heard of that. I don't know anything about it. But anybody who threatens to kill any political official, we denounce it absolutely. They got to have justice fall upon their head. All right? How about that? Yes, sir. Second row. First row.
Mr. Speaker, getting back to
All right, so now let's listen to the rest of what Yappin' Mac got to say.
this is one of the number of individuals who have been pardoned as a result of January 6th who have been rearrested in these charges. Did President Trump make a mistake by just offering a blanket pardon for every single person that was convicted as a result?
I don't know any of the details of this at all.
Notice how MAGA Mike Johnson never knows any of the details at all. He doesn't know anything. The question was, do you feel it was a mistake for Trump to issue a blanket pardon, right, to these January 6th? Let's listen again.
A blanket pardon. Did Trump make a mistake by just offering a blanket pardon for every single person that was convicted as a result?
To every single person that was convicted in the Jan 6 riots. Was that a mistake? That's what the reporter just asked MAGA Mike Johnson.
I don't know any of the details of this at all. I don't know who's been alleged to have been involved in this. I will say that anybody who threatens political violence against elected officials or anyone else should be have the full weight and measure of the Department of Justice on their head. I trust that will happen. I hope it will. We are intellectually consistent about that, obviously. I will tell you this. The violence on the left is far more prevalent than the violence on the right. Don't make me go through the list. You all know it. All of these the assassination culture that's been advanced now, this is the left in almost every case that is advancing this and not the right. So let's not make it a partisan issue. You don't want me to go there. We're just going to say anybody, any deranged individual, this has to stop. And the rhetoric that you saw on display on Saturday, we highlighted yesterday, it plays into this, okay? There are people that get triggered. There are deranged people in society when they hear elected officials participating in a rally that was paid for by Soros and sponsored by communists, with signs and placards and mantras that were repeated that we should bring death to fascist politicians. What they mean is they call every Republican a fascist now. They're calling.
I never seen one sign that said bring death to fascist politicians. In fact, liberals don't even write that way. You see what I mean? And that's the ridiculous of it. MAGA Mike Johnson is known for going in front of the media and just saying things that are not fact checked. Number one, it is no comparison. The hate crime and political hate crime between the left and the right is not comparable. Right wingers in the United States of America are known specifically for hate violence and political hate violence. They just are. Now, I'm not saying that the left doesn't participate in it. Of course, the left does. But if you want to go with the data, and Trump has not produced any, MAGA Mike Johnson hasn't produced any data to back up his statement. But there's loads of data that backs up my statement already for decades and decades through Democrat and Republican presidents and administrations, So it's just ridiculous. But of course, that's what he has to do to kind of justify, this kind of environment that they're in. I mean, they stoke a lot of violence, the right wing, and they play in it just like they play in the gun rights thing. I mean, which is unfortunate because it has a way of turning against you. Look at what happened to Charlie Kirk again, a guy raised in a red state, raised by a Trump, pretty much a right wing family, raised in a town that fully supports Trump, but a heavy Republican town, right? This guy, even his own grandmother was like, we don't have no liberals in our family. It's like that. He was raised as a young boy to shoot guns that are used specifically for killing people in war. He grows up, turns 22, and he's the one shooting MAGA Mike Johnson. It's not some thug in New York City, Brooklyn, New York, who was raised that way by their parents that shot Charlie Kirk. It's not some dude from D.C., Washington, D.C., who was raised to shoot guns that way who shot Charlie Kirk. It's a person who grew up in a red state, in a red town, in a red family, who was raised to shoot guns that kill people, not hunting guns, guns to kill people, that shot Charlie Kirk. And Democrats have argued against these kind of gun rights for a while, and Republicans just ain't having it. They just ain't having it. They just no, 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 no. And then Charlie Kirk gets shot for speaking what he claims is freedom of speech. Well, everyone knows, yeah, but it's also hate speech. I mean, you're going to go on a tour around the country talking about every single type of person there is and how you hate them. And this is not even a comedy show. It's like, goddamn, it's like straight up politics. Charlie Kirk is going to figure out how he hates dwarfs, how he hates midgets, how he hates handicapped people, how he hates women, women need to be at home in the kitchen. All of the shit, how he hates everyone else. And he never thought that someone would be pissed off. He never thought out of the whole tour you make around the whole country. He wasn't saying it in his hometown where he lives and goes to school every day and where he does his business. No, he's just going on around the whole goddamn country, talking about people he doesn't even fucking know. And somebody from a red state who believes in gun rights just like him shot his ass. I mean, come on. It's crazy, So this is not a Democrat thing. Democrats are not into this thing. It's not typical left to do this, but we do have people that will commit violence if they feel is necessary. But this, the Democrat message has always been, we don't need to deal with people this way. And notice something. January 6th was about the election. And these Republicans go around talking about, you will not replace us. They're getting angry about elections. They're getting angry about democracy. They're willing to commit violence because they feel democracy doesn't work for them. That's what's going on in the United States of America.
Calling for the death of elected officials. Please, enough of that. We got to stop it. Stop the rhetoric, stop all the nonsense, and stop the violence.
Thank you.
Look, I'm not going to address it because I'm not sure of the details of this, and I think we've said enough. You know where we stand, and every one of you should stand there the same way. We didn't.
Oh, I don't know how many of you noticed, but like half of Alaska is underwater right now, due to some serious storms that happened out there. But
Ounce violence from anybody, anytime. Those people should be arrested and tried. Thanks.
yeah, so I agree with MAGA Mike Johnson. That's the first time. I don't agree with that little shot that he made because, he doesn't have any data. He's not presenting data. There's no data that exists in the United States of America that suggests that left-wing people are more politically violent than right-wing. No, it's the opposite, and it's been that way for a while, and it is what it is. Now, let me see something here. Let me go over to the next one. Let's see. Boom. Here we go.
A January 6th rioter who received one of the president's pardons is now charged with allegedly threatening to kill Hakeem Jefferies. Authorities say Christopher Moynihan, seen here in the Senate chamber during the attack, sent text messages to an anonymous
Right. So the guy that, just for people that don't know, I know a lot of you do know, but it's for folks that don't know. Maybe everybody's not just following all the details. The guy who issued the terroristic threats towards Hakeem Jefferies, who's the minority House leader, the leader of the Democrats in the House, right? MAGA Mike Johnson, who you just heard speak, is the leader of the majority party, who is the Republicans. He's the leader of the Republicans in the House. So he's the House leader. So he's the one who has to, since he's the majority leader, he has to swear in any duly elected officials. Now, Going back to this, you see Jan 6, Maga Mike Johnson, what did he say about Jan 6? Did he say, he flip-flopped on Jan 6? You see, the Republicans flip-flop. See, at this time, they were scared for their fucking lives, right, during Jan 6. Those police officers that died and were injured protecting their lives, see, at that moment, they were like, God damn, what the fuck is Trump doing? Trump took 4 hours before he made any statement to these Jan 6 people to stop. He had a rally in front or behind the White House for 2 hours, right? Or an hour and 20 minutes. 2 hours, it was the gathering time and the speech time altogether. But the speeches were lasted an hour and 20 minutes behind the White House in the vicinity of it. And then they marched up and for 4 hours invaded that damn Capitol. And Trump didn't lift a finger to stop it. And this is one of the pictures. So the guy who issued the terroristic threat against Jefferies was pardoned by Trump when Trump took office. When he just took office on January 20th this year, right? So this is the guy. So you see the turnaround time on that. He was pardoned, released. Already 8 months later, he's issuing terroristic threats towards Hakeem Jefferies. So just to make it clear now, Maga Mike Johnson is also the same person that just is getting sued now, right, by Arizona, the state of Arizona, for taxation without representation, for refusing to swear in an elected official here.
That said, quote, Hakeem Jefferies makes a speech in a few days in New York City. I can't allow this terrorist to live. Even if I'm hated, he must be eliminated. And I will kill him for the future.
Okay. Now, who in the chat stands behind these statements and agree with these statements? Agree that these are just statements. If you think these are just statements, put a 1 in the chat. If you disagree and think these are completely unjust, put a 2 in the chat. Here we go. This is all I want to know, because get ready for the next round, because you ain't going to survive this. Hakeem Jefferies makes a speech. This is from this guy's own. This is his own text. This is his own text. Hakeem Jefferies makes a speech in New York City. I cannot allow this terrorist to live. So he sees, okay, so let's go here, reboot. We'll get your ass out of here, too. He sees, and all your comments just go just like that, if you are a terrorist, okay? So, because this is a terrorist threat made towards an elected official. So here we go. Hakeem Jefferies makes a speech in NYC. I cannot allow this terrorist to live. Maga Mike Johnson denounces this, by the way. Even if I am hated, he must be eliminated. I will kill him for the future. So, do you agree with this? Put a 1 in the chat. Do you agree? Is this okay? Or is this not okay? If you agree and you think this is okay, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't, put a 2 in the chat. Let me just watch. Let's see who agrees with this and who disagrees. Give everybody a chance. Okay, so here we go again. Boom, because there's no point for lunatics to be here or their comments, really, here we go. Let's go out of this. Another terrorist is going to be removed from my chat, because this is where I don't go. You can argue about policy, but this one, you're just a fucking terrorist. Okay, I don't even have to see you the same way anymore. You're not a normal person. You should be in jail if you agree with this. Like, please lock your ass up. And please take the gun and put it on yourself, too. Like, really. Here we go. So, here we go. Let's play some more.
That anonymous person then tipped off the FBI. In a statement, the House Minority Leader criticized the blanket pardon that Trump gave to the January 6th defendants and said acts of violence will not stop us from showing up, standing up, and speaking up for the American people. First of all, this is scary. But second of all, it's, I don't know. I think it's a natural consequence of pardoning people in a blanket fashion, just period, the end, regardless of what they were accused of doing.
Well, first, this is absolutely horrific and disgusting, and I'm so grateful that the FBI is as impressive as they are and was able to capture this. There's a man named Alton Mills who Barack Obama pardoned, who was a violent criminal and went on to murder somebody else. no one here knows his name because the reality is we can't be held responsible for what he did after that. This is disgusting, but I think to take a bigger look at what's going on, there is in fact one party that frequently releases violent criminals and puts them back on the street, and that is the Democratic Party, who's soft on crime. There's a man, DeCarlos Brown, who was arrested 14 times and went on to murder someone. So I think that is a bigger problem that Americans are facing today. And as for Hakeem Jefferies, absolutely disgusting that somebody wanted to target him, and I'm so grateful that the FBI discovered that plot.
So a few weeks ago, rhetoric was the issue and was the source of political violence on the left. Now here's a man who was pardoned by this president for a violent act, who then threatens a member of Congress, congressional leadership, and it's no big deal?
It is a big deal. Absolutely. It's a huge deal. The plot was foiled, and
Right, but
thankfully
I guess what
everyone
I'm
is
saying
safe.
I thought we just had.
So you hear that this commentator just pointed out that Obama pardoned a person that killed someone after, and that this has happened a few different times, right? Yo, I don't dispute that. I already know straight up there are people in the left, on the left, that if you push them too far, they can crack. Right. But that doesn't change the fact that generally on the left, these incidents happen far more infrequently than on the right. It still doesn't change the fact that Democrats advocate against legislation to reform gun control. It doesn't change that. Republicans go against it pretty much. It doesn't change the fact that there's people being raised in a certain way to kill. It doesn't change the fact that the person that killed Charlie Kirk was actually from a Republican town and from a Republican family and raised in a Republican state where they have Republican gun rights. It doesn't change that fact. And it still doesn't change the fact that everyone should denounce terroristic political threats. I do. Do you? I denounce terroristic political threats. And here's the thing. I even said I thought the person who killed Charlie Kirk, however you want to describe them, I would never tell a 22-year-old man to kill someone as pathetic as Charlie Kirk, because you lose your entire life. Your whole life is down the tubes just over a man who talks shit.
Had this whole national conversation about rhetoric, which, by the way, I don't want to endorse that, but I'm just saying, especially on the right, that was the conversation, was that rhetoric was leading to violence. But now all of a sudden it's like, well, this is just what happens when you let people out of prison. It's just part of it.
It's not what happens, and that's why we're opposed to the soft on crime policies. Look, I'm not going to get into the pardons, whether that was a good thing or not, but it's happened, and we can only move forward and make sure that the people who are dangerous criminals are off the streets.
Isn't the issue in part whether the pardons were good or not? You mentioned, we're talking about this guy, but there were several others. Another pardoned January 6th rioter was shot and killed in a confrontation with Indiana police. A January 6th rioter who was pardoned by Trump faced child sex charges. Ex-Proud Boy Enrique Tarrio arrested on assault charges outside of the Capitol after he was pardoned. Another rioter charged with burglary in Virginia. Another rioter arrested near Obama's house and convicted on gun charges. I mean, part of the issue here is that Trump pardoned a bunch of people who were convicted in many cases for violent crimes.
And the issue is, look, first, two things. One, I think we should also...
Another pardoned January 6th rioter was shot and killed in a confrontation with Indiana police. A January 6th rioter who was pardoned by Trump faced child sex charges. Ex-Proud Boy Enrique Tarrio arrested on assault charges outside of the Capitol after he was pardoned. Another rioter charged with burglary in Virginia. Another rioter arrested near Obama's house and convicted on gun charges. I mean, part of the issue here is that Trump pardoned a bunch of people who were convicted in many cases for violent crimes.
And the issue is, look, first, two things. One, I think we should also commend the anonymous person who tipped off authorities. And today I also saw a story about a foiled plot in the Atlanta airport where that man's family tipped off authorities. And so the fact that we are more vigilant.
Pardoned a bunch of people who were convicted in many cases for violent crimes.
And the issue is, look, first, two things. One, I think we should also commend the anonymous person who tipped off authorities. And today I also saw a story about a foiled plot in the Atlanta airport where that man's family tipped off authorities. And so the fact that we are more vigilant as a society and that people are taking the proactive action of trying to stop this and taking these threats seriously, I think is something good that we need to recognize and applaud. As you were mentioning, there's been at least 8 reported pardoned January 6 convicted felons who have been rearrested for different things, soliciting minors, firearm possession, different things. Look, here's the problem. That really pardons are a very serious thing which should be given all the weight and consideration and deliberation. Donald Trump wanted to make a big splash with pardoning them all with a blanket pardon on his first day, the first thing he signed, the first thing he did. If time had been taken to analyze each of them individually, maybe some of these things could have been avoided. But we are where we are. There's been at least 8. It's not the first, hopefully.
There's people who say, who said, do you denounce the assassination attempts on Trump? Yeah, of course I do. And here's why. See, I think this is the problem that right wingers have. They have a problem with the why a person denounces violence when it's a person from the left. I can tell you why. It's the same reason why I denounced the killing of Charlie Kirk. It's the same reason and why. I would never tell a 22-year-old man to waste his fucking life on killing a scumbag like Charlie Kirk. It's the same thing with Trump. Trump is an old fart. This guy's best friend was Jeffrey Epstein, the most prolific sex trafficker, pedophile sex trafficker in the United States history. Why the hell do you need to resolve this by killing him when this man is pathetic himself? Like, you could pick away at Trump through all the ways that the Democrats are picking away at Trump any goddamn way. Killing him would only, in fact, I even thought, is the dude who tried to kill him a right winger? Like, do they want a civil war by doing this? And yes, there have been organizations, right wing organizations in the West that have plotted to commit false flag acts to create civil unrest. So I'm aware of this kind of stuff, and so I would never tell someone to use violence to solve political goals. That is simply what terrorists do. You see, and it doesn't matter what type of terrorist you are. It doesn't matter what country you're in. It just is what it is. You see, but excuse me. Yes. Sorry about that, y'all. But it doesn't matter to me. And that's how I see it. I see Trump as a bad example for Republicans. So if Republicans want to go down on the Trump ship, let them go down on the ship. Look, the man just ripped up the White House. He's showing you what the Republican Party is for. The man is about to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. He's showing you only 8 months into office what the Republican Party is about. The man himself is scared of the Epstein files coming out and is pulling every lever to stop it. He's showing you what the Republican Party is about. Maga Mike Johnson is the leader of the majority party in Congress who has refused to swear in a congressional member because she is going to sign for the release of the Epstein files. They're showing you what they're about. So I believe Democrats, as far as the party leadership, have fought against Trump brilliantly by letting him show the American people what he and his party are about. And you're seeing it in real time. Why fuck that up with something as simple as an assassination? You may never know who, what, or why. Look, the young kid who tried to take a shot at Trump, people said he had a Trump. This was in Pennsylvania. People said he had a Trump sign in his yard, right? Whether you think he's Trump or not, it doesn't matter, right? The bottom line is he was killed. So you're never going to hear from him again. I don't think that's such a good thing. It would be good if you could hear what these people have to say afterwards. That's what I would think. Maybe they would let you know why they did it. But when you get killed, that doesn't happen. And I'm happy that the young man who killed Charlie Kirk was captured alive. I'm happy about that because folks will get a chance to hear his views. And I think the Republicans, strangely enough, might be more afraid of that. I don't know why, because they're saying he's a lefty, but I think they're very, very afraid of what this young man might have to say, because guess what? Just because you may be gay, or just because you may have pro-trans rights, doesn't make you a left-winger. You know, look at Maga Mike Johnson. Look at all the Republicans that are, said to be on the down low Christians, down low right-wingers. Again, being gay doesn't mean you're a left or a right person. Being a transsexual doesn't mean you're left-wing politic or right-wing politic. Why? Because a lot of them, unfortunately, pose and lie about who they are. You see what I mean? While actively participating in other things. So, people on the left know that there's gay right-wingers. I mean, come on, look at the dude that just got pardoned by Trump. He's flaming gay. He was arrested for federal crimes. There were so many federal crimes. He was even just stealing people's credit card numbers and shit. Like, goddamn, while in office, or running for office, like one or the other, Trump just pardoned him. So you see this thing about thinking that someone is gay and see, I told you he was a liberal. No, that's not it. Gay man just pardoned by Trump. He was a right winger. He's also a fraud, but he was a right winger pardoned by Trump. You see, so I think the right has a lot of you need to look in the mirror more. You really need to look in the mirror more and take some tips from Democrats. I'm not saying Democrats are perfect, but I just got to tell you, as far as letting Trump expose who he is, they're very brilliant at it. Because Trump is showing you who he is. He tore up the White House, a historic building. He's cutting your Medicare. Did he tell you he was going to pardon the Jan 6 rioters before he got in office? No, he didn't tell you that. He just did it. He didn't tell you. He told you he was going to lower prices. Prices are higher. They told you they wouldn't touch Medicaid. They're touching Medicaid. They're showing you who you are and who they are. And if you're too stupid to see it, you can't blame a Democrat for that.
Hopefully this will be the last.
It is a risk when you blanket pardon a group without really looking into the individuals. The same risk applies to Joe Biden, who pardoned thousands of drug criminals without looking into the individual files at the end of his administration. I don't know how many of them have reoffended. I'm sure if they haven't, some probably will because of the volume of them, and he'll be responsible for that.
Can I ask you a question about that? Are you suggesting that because Joe Biden did not personally look into each file, or because it did not go through a process? Because I'm not sure it didn't go through a process. But
well, I'm saying the president, it's pretty well reported through each.
Be it Biden or be it Trump. And as you know, I'm not a...
Okay, my fault. Sorry about that. I'm back. Yeah, I got kicked out of the session. Here we go. Let's play this again.
I'm not a fan of either one of those because I think they're tied to war crimes in Gaza, but that's just a rich footnote. But the important thing is more than just a risk, though, brother. Now,
it's interesting what Powell, with what's this brother's name here? Cornel West. I'm sorry, damn, that's terrible. But Cornel West, he just said he's not really a friend of Biden or Trump, and he called both of them war crime. Saying they're involved in war crimes. Well, this is interesting because a lot of MAGA people said that they didn't support, they're tired of weapons and money and taxpayer dollar going to foreign wars. Now that Trump is in office, they don't seem to have a problem with Trump supporting Israel, supporting Netanyahu, really, because it's Netanyahu's policies that are being acted out, not necessarily Israeli people, because they're kind of divided right now, Israelis, over this issue. So it's interesting. So before, a lot of MAGA people, they would have supported Cornel West's statements here. But now, because Trump is in office, again, another flip-flop, they're not with it.
Then, be it Biden or be it Trump. And as you know, I'm not a fan of either one of those because I think they're tied to war crimes in Gaza, but that's just as...
No, Israel, Kevin, Israel's not in NATO, my friend. You need to brush up on that. Everybody needs to know Israel definitely not in NATO. And yeah, you should figure out, especially if you live in a NATO country, you should know who's a member of NATO.
But the important thing is more than just a risk, though, brother. It is no moral and legal justification. Drop the mic.
Well, the lack of remorse is one big part of it. I mean, these people were not remorseful in any way, and that's a big part of the problem.
Yeah, so we were just talking about pardons last week. I think pardons and commutations play an important role in our, and that the president should have that authority. I think that there needs to be systems and standards that apply for every president across the board, Democrat or Republican. Absolutely. But that aside, I think we're missing the context in which we're actually talking about when the story started about this individual and what they were actually trying to do on January 6th and how dangerous it was for our country, for people in the Capitol at that time. And so then I guess the question is, I like to see that usually when you get pardoned, there's a form of rehabilitation that happens. You have to show that you've served some time and that you've actually learned. We don't really know if that happened because it happened so fast under this administration. It was a campaign promise. It was actually like, I don't care if they served time and they did some rehabilitation. I'm going to do it so that my folks know I stand with these folks. And the final question I just have to ask is, Scott, you and I are aligned. There is no place for political violence anywhere, but why is it so heightened right now? And what is the antidote to bring it down? Because just putting one side against the other, we're just going to always just try to keep outdoing each other, and then violence will keep happening. So I want to go a layer deeper and try and figure out, why is this violence surfacing in such a way right now, and how do we get it?
Right. Yeah. How do you get it to stop? And I would think that, again, everybody is not American that listens to this podcast. Everybody's not, in the chat is not American. Right. So I can see how some of the statements are a little different and might reflect that, people's knowledge about the nations that they're from. But don't get me wrong, a lot of Americans don't know jack shit about their own country. And that is really sad. A lot of Americans don't get anywhere to see even parts of their own country, let alone parts of America, let alone parts of the rest of the world. Right. So a lot of Americans, it's a big country, are very isolated in a lot of different ways. And that makes our politics kind of complex. But, this kind of thing, I really hope Americans can just stop looking at everything else. I'm not saying, don't be involved in the rest of the world and don't play a role in the rest of the world, where your interests lie. And for whatever reason, I'm not saying that we should, because, that's also reflective of the fact that we're a democracy that has 350 million people. That's very unique. That's the largest democracy, pretty much. You see what I mean? Largest Western democracy, 350 million people. That's a lot of people. And that's a lot of buying power. It's industrialized. The economy is stronger. Not, it's getting shaken under Trump. But that in itself means a lot to the world, rationally. But this thing about not being able to understand that your interests are also important at home, healthcare, education. I see somebody in the chat talking about Israel. Israelis have healthcare. Israelis have access to education, all of them. Why the hell would anyone in the United States be supporting that and not supporting their own people to have that? I don't understand that. You see, and it's nothing about Jews, because the United States of America has its own Jewish population that's not Israeli. You see what I mean? Different parts of the world have their own Jewish populations that are not Israelis. Israel is a country. All Jews are not Israelis. And there's a lot of hype about that. And I don't think it does anybody any good to make believe. A lot of MAGA people make believe about Jews, and a lot of Muslims make believe about Jews. And a lot of it is centered around Israel. But you need to know the history and the, of Jewish people, just like a lot of other people, is way bigger than that. Okay, there's a whole lot of other shit to talk about rather than just something surrounded by Israel. You know what I mean? And a lot of Jews do not agree with Israel, the state of Israel, with Netanyahu. A lot of them, I think they say only 40% of the global Jewish population has ever even been to Israel. You see, but there's a lot of different ways to look at that. But in any case, back to the homestead. We support things that we don't even abroad that we don't even support for our own people at home. And I'm not saying abandon people abroad. The United States typically doesn't abandon allies, even when they make mistakes. That's serious. That's real talk. It's not just Israel. They don't abandon a whole lot of people when they make really bad mistakes. Most superpowers don't, by the way. Just to remind people, Russia doesn't abandon its allies when they make genocide, when they do really horrible things. China doesn't do that. They all play the veto game on the Security Council. If somebody says China was a part of genocide, China vetoes it. If somebody says the U.S. was a part of it, somebody vetoes it. If somebody says Russia was a part of it, somebody vetoes it. That's the facts. But while that shit goes on, Americans should be smart enough to know that healthcare, that should be a given. Education, that should be a given. And right now it's not. You got poor ass white people hating on Hakeem Jefferies. I really want to find out more about the guy who issued this terroristic threat. How broke is his ass? How broke is his family? Could his family benefit from Hakeem Jefferies' policies on healthcare? That's what I want to know. To me, that's the big story. And I think it would be, yes, they could. Yes, if you just said it was Republican policy, he would go for it. I mean, that's how a lot of these people are, man. I hate to say it, but it is what it is. Now, we heard a little bit about that. And I don't want to keep everybody so long, but that is on the back. That is on the back of this that just happened 2 days ago. Now, you tell me. Again, this just happened.
President Trump's pick to lead the office of special counsel appears to be on thin ice, and that, quite honestly, may be a generous take. You now have the top Republican in the Senate, John Thune, saying this about Paul Ingrassia: he's not going to pass. It comes after Politico reported on racist text messages Ingrassia allegedly sent in a group chat with the Republican operatives. In one message, Ingrassia allegedly texted that the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday should be tossed into the seventh circle of hell where it belongs. In another, Ingrassia, in a back and forth, allegedly wrote, "I do have a Nazi streak in me from time to time. I will admit it." CNN's Annie Greer is on Capitol Hill for more. So you have this reporting, and you have what is in terms of the response from lawmakers on Capitol Hill now.
Well, Leader Thune was very clear last night, Kate. He said that Ingrassia doesn't have the votes, and he hopes that the White House pulls this nomination. Ingrassia was expected to meet in front of the Senate Homeland Security Committee on Thursday, and at least one of the Republicans on that committee, Republican Senator Rick Scott, told me last night that he does not support Ingrassia. So that right there is enough Republican opposition to end this nomination, assuming that all Democrats also vote against him, which we are expecting.
This kind of shows you Republicans are all over the place. They're all over the place. On one hand, they supporting Netanyahu, Israel, to be at war with Palestinians and with the Middle East forever. You know, and then on the other hand, he's nominating people who fucking hate Jews. I mean, what the fuck? The Republicans are all over the place. They don't stand on any principle whatsoever at all. The main principle I would say they stand on is robbing the poor, stealing from the poor, and giving to the rich. You know, the United States of America needs a Robin Hood, you know, really, because outside of robbing the poor and the middle class and giving to the rich, Republicans don't stand on anything. They are just all over the place. And again, this guy that Trump appointed, man, he got a rack of, you know, incitements here. Look at this shit. Look at this. This is just blacks behave the way because their natural state, you can't change them. Okay, so fuck you. Now let's go on. I mean, obviously a Jewish person is going to be like, fuck him, because this motherfucker's talking about he's a Nazi. Okay. Now then there is a black. Okay, hold on. What else is there? Let's see. Let me pull it back. Where's the first comment? Is it this one? Come on. Is it this?
Right.
There it is. Never trust a Chinaman or Indian. Never. Okay. Goddamn Kash Patel. He's not far off from Indian. Excuse my Pakistani friends, but goddamn, your neighbors, and you have some of the same tribes on both sides of the border. You are kin. Goddamn Vance, damn JD Vance's own wife. Where the hell's she from? India. You know, again, Republicans are all over the place. Republicans are a hot fucking mess. They're a hot fucking mess. You know, I mean, this is them. They don't stand for shit. They ran on releasing the Epstein files. Now they flip-flopped on the Epstein files. I mean, you know, now they want to pick on Africa. It's like, damn, Africa got more resources than the United States of America has. Natural resources. What you want to do about that? You want to just not have any trade with Africans just because you are appointing people that are really dumbass bigots. I mean, dumbass bigots. I mean, look, bigotry and stupidity go hand in hand. They are inseparable. They are inseparable. They are defining elements of each other. You can't be a bigot without being fucking ignorant. I mean, that's just what it is. Now, I just wanted to touch on that to remind people that just happened. That was just on the goddamn heels. And then that was on the heels. What we just saw of Ingracias, that was on the heels of this, days before that.
Politico reported on a group chat of a bunch of young Republicans. I'm wondering your thoughts on that, and does this reflect, you know, is it just some bad young apples in this chat, or do you think that there's a toxicity around the entire party?
Some bad apples. These are the future of the Republican Party. This was so vile. It is hard to find the words to put into context that these are people who are part of a political party, one of two major political parties, and they believe in gas chambers and rape and discrimination based on the color of people's skins. These are racist, sexist, disgusting remarks. And I would say this. We have a leader from the Republican Party in this state, the highest ranking individual, who in the backdrop of all this calls our candidate for mayor, one of our candidates for mayor, a jihadist and a terrorist, and then somehow says, oh, what they said, these young Republicans, was wrong. Like, look at what you say yourself. Look at your inflammatory words. And maybe they have an effect on these young people, many of whom you support and have supported you. And you ought to just do a little re-examination of how far this has gone, where this is normalized enough that thousands of texts are uncovered. This is not one person saying they love Hitler. This is a whole lot of people saying things that are so disgusting and so abhorrent that everybody from the president on down should condemn them.
1,000 different people. And then she's not even talking about the comments that Ingratia's made. That's crazy, you know, and again and again and again and again and again. And I'm telling you, if you are confused about ignorance and bigotry being inseparable, then you are in for a serious ride. Because guess who's going to win? Classists. Classists who play dumb, little, stupid, ignorant motherfuckers are going to win. Yes, they're going to take. If you are a person that depends on Medicaid or Medicare or Obamacare, you are being played for the fool. By who? The puppet masters, the classists. Elon Musk. Elon Musk don't give a fuck about Medicare. Okay? Why? Because he's the richest person on earth. Peter Thiel doesn't give a fuck about Medicare. Jeff Bezos doesn't give a fuck about Medicare. You see what I mean? These are things that middle class and poor people care about. And also, I'm not saying middle class person can't be a millionaire today. Yes, even you should care about it, because $1 million ain't shit today in the United States of America. It don't pay for much. $1 million a year, you know, it doesn't pay for that much. Like, you could also find your ass out there quick, you know, and you know, but in any case, this is what it is. Now, this is day after day after day, new revelations. And this is just on the backs of who? Who is this on the backs of? Like, really? Let me see something here. This is on the backs, really? A lot of this shit is the damn Epstein files. I mean, they don't want to appoint anyone that is going to do anything about this Epstein shit. And let me just peep here. Is this what it is? Here we go.
Here's a breakdown of what's happening in the lawsuit by the state of Arizona.
Yeah, the same dude, Maga Mike Johnson, that's protecting all these people, that's in the Republican Party, where every time something like this happens, a revelation is made about Nazi chambers, gas chambers, hating Jews, hating Africans, hating Hispanics, hating gays, hating any of that, right? Maga Mike Johnson, he never knows anything about it.
Against Mike Johnson, Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, why it was filed, what it alleges, what's at stake, and the positions of the parties. What happened? On September 23, 2025, Adelita Grijalva, a Democrat, won a special election in Arizona's 7th Congressional District to fill the seat of her late father, Raul Grijalva Rotas. Although her win was certified October 14, 2025, she has not yet been sworn in as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. Democracy docket. Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays filed a lawsuit on October 21, 2025 in federal court, Washington, D.C., on behalf of the state of Arizona and Ms. Grijalva.
So this just was filed yesterday, right? Oh, wait a second. Although, let me see here. Yeah, the 21st. Now it's the 22nd, it's a day and a half ago. So on the 21st, this was filed in a federal court. So Maga Mike Johnson is being sued by the state of Arizona, you see, for not appointing, for not swearing her in, right? And she's a duly elected official. That's 800,000 constituents have taxation right now, are being taxed without representation, right? Understand that. Now, the one of the Civil War that went off, that broke off, you know, I don't know how many people remember the Boston Tea Party, you know, and taxation without representation, the king taxing people. That's one of the things that sparked off, you know, the War of Independence, not the Civil War, I'm sorry, the War of Independence, taxation without representation. So this issue is at the center of what it is to be an American, civil rights. Taxation without representation, you know, just like the First Amendment, just like the Second Amendment, all of these things, they're at the center, the core, the nucleus of what it is to be an American citizen. These are not slight, slight things that just happen incidentally. And, oh, yeah, I forgive you for taxation without representation. No, I forgive you for violating my First Amendment rights. No. I forgive you for violating my Second Amendment right. No, there's not forgiveness. There's punishment for these things, because you are violating the core. You've now come into the nexus, the center. You've gone past the outer layers, of what it is to be an American and gotten into the center of it, the nucleus. I'm just saying.
ASAG. The defendants include the U.S. House of Representatives, its clerk and sergeant-at-arms, with Speaker Mike Johnson central to the dispute. Democracy docket. What the lawsuit argues. The lawsuit makes several key claims. One, that Speaker Johnson is blocking or delaying Ms. Grijalva's swearing-in, despite her being duly elected and constitutionally qualified. ABC News 2, that this delay denies representation to the residents of Arizona's 7th District, over 800,000 constituents, characterizing it as taxation without representation. AP News 3, that Johnson's rationale, that she'll be sworn in when the House returns from recess government shutdown, gives him a power to keep someone out of office for a large part of their term, which the suit says is inconsistent with the Constitution. ABC News 4, the suit asks the court to authorize an alternative official, if Johnson refuses, to administer the oath so that Ms. Grijalva can assume office. AP News, why this is happening. The context. The U.S. House is currently not in regular floor session because of an ongoing government shutdown. Speaker Johnson has signaled the House will not resume full legislative business until certain conditions are met, including Senate support for a funding bill.
Right there, that's where it is illegal, because that's exactly why you can't. You can't refuse for those grounds. It's very simple. The House is not in session, but that has nothing to do with the government shutdown. That's a political dispute, the government shutdown, meaning funding of certain branches of government, certain parts of certain branches of government. Number one, Congress is not affected by the shutdown. They're being paid to do business. They're paid to swear people in. They're paid to vote. Do you see the irony in this? Maga Mike Johnson is asking people to vote on something, right? But he's saying he can't swear in a duly elected official. Well, why can you do one thing and not do the other? What requires more people? It requires the House to do more to vote than it does to swear in. It involves two people to swear in, and you got to get everybody in the House in for a vote. You see the hypocrisy in this bullshit? So if the House is shut down, if the government is shut down, how can you have a vote then? You see, Maga Mike Johnson is just lying to people. And again, the Republicans are showing themselves. And I'm sorry, whether you think the Democrats are perfect or not, or the best or not, or have made mistakes or didn't make mistakes, whatever you think, I'm sorry. The principle of how the Democrats have been fighting this is brilliant, because they are letting the Republicans show who they are at every step of the way. That's all they're doing. And you get a chance to see it. I mean,
critics, including Ms. Grijalva and Attorney General Mays, argue that the delay is political, because once the oath is administered, Ms. Grijalva would become the 218th signature needed for a judge to force a House vote on releasing files related to Jeffrey Epstein. They suggest Republicans want to block that. The Guardian, Johnson denies that the delay is tied to the Epstein-related matter and calls the lawsuit a publicity stunt. He argues that the House is simply not in session and he will swear her in when it returns. Politico. Why it matters. It raises a constitutional question. Can the Speaker of the House delay swearing in a duly elected representative because the House is not in session, or for political reasons? The lawsuit says no. ABC News. It has practical consequences for the 7th District of Arizona. Without being sworn in, Ms. Grijalva cannot fully exercise all the powers of a member of Congress, like formally voting, accessing House member services, sponsoring legislation, or arguably constituent services. The Washington Post. It also highlights the interplay between legislative procedure, representation, and partisan strategy. The timing of seating a member becomes a lever in a much broader political battle. If the case succeeds or sets a precedent, it could constrain future speakers from delaying sworn-in members and ensure more timely seating of representatives. Speaker Johnson's position. He contends the House is not in regular session and that Ms. Grijalva will be sworn in when the House resumes business.
Now you can see again. Here's another manipulative term he's throwing out. What the fuck is a regular session? You're either in session or you're not in session. When you're in session, you get to do business, House business. It's that simple. The regular session or not. He called. You see, before he was like the House is not in session. Now he's saying the House is not in regular session. Maga Mike Johnson is changing his statements and his words, his terminologies every single day of the week. I mean, this man is panicking. But again, this is the Republican Party of today. This is who you got. This is the type of spine you have. Maga Mike Johnson is 100% a reflection of the spine of MAGA. Donald J. Trump is 100% a reflection of the spine of MAGA. And you're seeing it play out. This is what you got. This is what you got.
Politico. He rejects the claim that her swearing in is being blocked because of the Epstein petition, calling that notion totally absurd.
Right. It's totally absurd, but, probable at the same time. Now, Curtis, I saw a comment. I just wanted to highlight a few comments before I go on. I want to hear some of the speakers, or not the congressional members' words on this lawsuit. Not everyone grew up living with the same conditions and advantages as others, which is probably why you have very little empathy for others not in the same position as you. And a lot of people need to think about that. Like, seriously, again, although I'm a Democrat, I come from a liberal town, Washington, D.C. My family, both sides, come from the colonial period of the United States. Although I live outside of the United States as a grown-ass man. I have health care, universal health care. My kids, we have universal education here. My kids go to school independent of me and get a stipend to do that if they choose to. If they're not forced to, only if they want. Only if they want. You see, but I have empathy for people that grew up in other parts of the country. Goddamn, how is it that no American in the richest country on earth, that's ever existed has to sit around here and argue about basic things like healthcare and education when every other Western country who has all the same issues, immigration issues, healthcare issues, housing issues, education issues, industry issues, they have all the same shit, but they found a way to make education and healthcare universal for their citizens and residents. How the fuck, and taxpayers, how the fuck is that impossible for the United States of America? I'm sorry, we're not so different as Americans. We're not. And if I didn't say that, it would be me who is the fucking idiot. Because I am privileged. I have gone and traveled and seen different parts of my own country, the United States. I've seen Appalachia. I've seen northern part, northern Maine. I've seen the southern part, South Carolina, North Carolina, the coast. I've seen the West Coast. I've seen the Midwest. Come on. You know what I'm saying? Arizona, Ohio, all these different places. I've traveled outside Canada, traveled to South America, Europe. I know people. I know people are not that different, and so I appreciate that comment, Curtis. Let me see here. Tia says, enjoy that you have Social Security and Medicare and banking laws and mortgage laws and protect you and your family from abuses. Absolutely. Yeah, straight up. Denmark has some, in terms of this kind of stuff, Denmark and Europe, they set limits to corporations. They don't constrict them too much, but they set some limits. The United States has no limits. People are in debt their whole life just because they went to fucking school. That makes no sense whatsoever. People are being charged 3 and 4 and 5 times more for health care. Why? And already, that's not included what is about to happen. That's already, and that's not even covering everybody. That's, if you're lucky, you're paying 3 and 4 and 5 times more for medication, for healthcare. Why? That's a choice. That's because the United States hasn't set any limits. They haven't said, hey, it's wrong for you to scam middle class people and poor people. The U.S. just refuses to do that. And, They're going to have to find a way. Going to have to find a way. But let me see. Now, this is the last one here. Let me pull this up here. No, is this it? This nutcase got pardoned. I can't believe it. Is it this one? Hold on. Right. Hold on. It's something about Grivalda here. Let me see. I wanted to pull up here. Can I find it? Let me go back for a second. 2 seconds here. Where did I put that at? Boom, boom, boom. All right. Here we go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right. I think it must be here. I just got to go all the way to the end of this. Right. So let's see here.
President Trump's pick to lead the office of special counsel appears to be on thin ice, and that, quite honestly, may be a generous take. You now have the...
No, it's not that. You know what? Let me stop it. It's not coming up. All right, I up. So let me pause on that one. Listen, I appreciate. Oh, hold on. Why is that doing that? All right, sorry about that, y'all. I got kicked out again. Now this is it. I'm going to end on this. Now all of this is culminating. I mean, and I don't know if it's just me. I know it's not just me, but I'm curious how many people, just in general, regardless of the politics, how many people have seen a presidency like this one in their lifetime? I'm talking about the current one, the current administration. How many of you have seen an administration in the United States like this in your lifetime? Let me know before I get into the last part that loops all this together. Put a 1 in the chat if you have seen an administration like this in your lifetime, like the current one you're having. Put a 1 in the chat. If you haven't seen one, put a 2 in the chat. I myself, I have never seen an administration like this ever in the United States. And yeah, sorry about that. You can see somebody's trying to hit me up. I'm about to be out. But I'm 55 years old, born in the 1970s. I've never seen an administration like this in my entire lifetime. It doesn't matter if you're talking about Republican. It doesn't matter if you're talking about Democrat. I myself have never seen one, right? And so I'm a little, shocked, just beyond party, right? Whatever, it doesn't even matter to me if it's Republican or Democrat. I myself could never support any administration that operates this way, in the manner that the Trump administration operates. I'm talking about, forget their philosophy. I mean, just flat out in terms of what's going on here. Something going on with my screen? Good grief. Yo, let me know if y'all can hear the audio. Something is this? Hold on, let me see something. What is going on here? My security, y'all. Sorry about that. I'm about to be out. But as I was stating, I'm going to go through the chat in a second. But as I was stating, I was asking if you have seen an administration like this in your lifetime, put a 1 in the chat. And if you've never seen an administration function like this in your lifetime, put a 2 in the chat. Me and myself, I've never seen it. And I'm not talking about the political goals. I'm not talking about the difference in philosophy. I'm talking about how this administration goes about business, how it goes about business. And if you have seen another administration function like this in your lifetime, let me know what administration that was. I'm talking about the United States because the others don't matter right now in context to this. I myself, I've never seen one. And I'm talking about, I'm 55 years old. I've seen many administrations. So maybe I'm a little up on politics. Maybe that gives me a little bit of a benefit to that. I follow politics. I was kind of raised to follow politics a little bit, at least read the newspaper. My parents didn't make me a Republican or a Democrat. Those are choices you make for yourself. Also, your religion and things like that. I grew up being free, very, very free. My parents didn't put a thought about what I should be in my mind. Period. You see, but I've never seen an administration function like this before to reach its political goals. I would even have to say I don't think this administration is pro-American. Like, I believe it is anti-constitution. Like, it doesn't want to follow the law. It doesn't want to follow the Constitution at every step of the way. This administration has operated like it has no respect for Congress. It has no respect for the courts. It has no respect for other fellow Americans that may have different philosophies, but pay taxes and follow the law also. I've never seen a president behave this way or an administration behave this way in my entire life outside of this one. And I'm just being honest about it. So I'm just curious what people think themselves, of that. And now let me play this last clip here. And then this happened just a few days ago, just leading up. And again, it connects to the Republican Party and how they do business. What is going on in this country? This goes back to Ghislaine Maxwell. This goes back to your elected officials. This goes back to Donald Trump. This goes back to Maga Mike Johnson. This goes back to Guajara, the elected representative that Maga Mike Johnson won't swear in. While all of this is going on, at the same time, they don't want to release the Epstein files. Trump sends Maxwell to a camp, a prison camp where people have picnics and shit like that. And this is what's going on there.
To get a visit like that, it had to be somebody very, very high up in the government.
The entire prison was apparently put on lockdown while Ghislaine Maxwell had a special visit from someone.
Not only was it put on lockdown, it was put on maximum lockdown.
But what is the difference?
So in a traditional lockdown, they still let people that have jobs, kitchen staff, food services, certain orderly positions, people that have certain jobs, they allow them out of the unit to continue doing those jobs. In this situation, everyone was locked down. The kitchen staff was closed. Everything was closed. It's my understanding that they brought her out to the chapel, and the only thing that one of my clients was able to see was that she went into the chapel, but whoever was visiting her came in through the back of the chapel, so you couldn't even see the type of cars they drove in on.
So was there any speculation inside this prison camp as to who the visitor was?
Purely speculation, and I have no way of confirming this, but in order to get a visit like that, it had to be somebody very, very high up in the government. In this instance, which I've never heard of before, everything was locked down, and her visitors came in through a back entrance so that no one could see who they were and how they came in.
Okay, so as an American, right, or anybody else, fuck it, is this how you want your government to function? Is that how you want your government to continue to function? Do you want your government, keeping secrets from you? Do you think, and this goes to American citizens, do you think that you can have a stable democracy when possibly hundreds and maybe more government officials or people in the courts, judges, maybe people in Congress, maybe people in the Senate, maybe people in high places in industry, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, could possibly be blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein? Do you think, and someone else might have that information, do you think that that's the kind of democracy you want to live in where elected officials, judges, aristocrats of all types are engaging in behavior that people have on tape? Do you think you can, move on like that? Because I personally don't think it's possible. And one of the reasons why I definitely don't think it's possible is how hard the Republicans are, how hard they're fighting to keep these Epstein files a secret, like out of people's hands. I look at The Secret, how they're keeping it a secret, how they ran on that, how they said they would release it and then immediately changed. And then I look at Trump's behavior. And they are connected. His behavior is connected to why those files are being kept secret. I mean, that's my view. And a lot of other people's behavior also, so on that note, I'm out. Click the like button, subscribe if you haven't been to my channel before and subscribed. I do this from time to time, these impromptus, and I'm going to keep on doing them until I see, that my country is back on some sort of, positive path. Right now, I don't see it. I see the country as being in grave danger and being sold out by someone who is in those Epstein files, like just totally sold out, and I see that person as being a threat to Western democracy overall, in general, if not more people. I mean, you see how he doesn't give a damn, about a lot of things. I saw some people talking about Trump, brokered peace in Africa. Man, Trump broke his peace one day every place. He broke a peace in Palestine yesterday. Now it's over. Come on. Stop capping for failure. Stop trying to make stop trying to make Jeffrey Epstein's one-time best friend look good. Stop trying to make a person who looks totally bad look good. Stop making excuses for a man who doesn't give a shit about you. Just stop it. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. It's just pathetic. But in any case, I'm out. I'm going to catch y'all later. I appreciate everybody for coming through. I hope everyone has a good day. My respect goes out to the people fighting this thing right now in the U.S., the people in the courts, the lawyers, the people on the street, and also the good civil servants that know enough is enough, man. Fuck this bullshit. What the fuck is going on? What is up with Trump? The civil servants that know that, the police that understand that, the military that understand that. Thank you for being patient. But we got to put this problem to rest because it is not looking good at all. So, y'all, I appreciate y'all. Peace. Release the Epstein files and learn to have respect for people that aren't hurting you.
Babies looking for food, starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you.
You deserve health care also.
Day in every crew. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. They don't want you to know about the black sheep. Leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct. And I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink. But I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and I feel we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die. You voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. Them diamonds in the morning, you know they want more.